Yes, folks, it's time for Axis and Allies and Zombies. And so, we're going to be playing here at the Hilltop Pillbox, and we're all already set up and raring to go. Just a couple of things I want to point out before we get going too far. I had a giveaway video back when I hit 1,000 subs, and Mike Ball won. And I never heard anything from Mike Ball. So if anybody knows Mike Ball out there, Mike, if you're watching this video, hey, just drop me a little note down below, and we'll hook you up with that prize package that you won. I want to be able to send that to you. So yeah, let me know you're out there, and we can get that to you. All right, on with the zombies. Couple quick things I want to talk about is in my first zombie video, I was pointing out that they had shorted me a transport, and someone else chimed in and said that it happened to them as well. And also, you're pretty tight for units. Like, you don't have much excess. And in fact, some of the things, you just have enough for the setup, and then they figure you're gonna combine everything together into one zone, or you're gonna take losses, but. It's just kind of it's a bit of a theme these days, is how little can we add with the game, and I can't believe that adding, a couple of tanks or a couple of men or something is gonna sink a company. But I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm not a businessman. But actually, I do have a home-based business, but I don't sell these games, and so I don't know. I really like the money, because it's got the blood stains on it, and they're all very randomized. They're not exactly the same. They're randomized, so that's kind of cool. I do like the dice. The dice are pretty cool. They're just your standard dice, but the sixes have disappeared, and they've been replaced with the zombie getting hit. So if you're rolling in an area that has zombies and you roll a 6, usually that's a bad thing. You don't hit anything. But in this game, at least you can kill a zombie by accident. And in the game, you typically only get a small number of zombies. So what I did was I went and actually purchased some more, and I purchased some more dice. It comes with 6 in the game. I went and bought 6 more at HBG, Historical Board Gaming. Pretty cheap, a couple of bucks. And because we definitely, in our first game, we definitely had 10, 12 zombies in the same zone on a couple of occasions. And instead of rolling and trying to remember what you got on the dice, you just... Hopefully we won't have over 12, but if we do, maybe I'll get some more. Another thing I got was an extra pack of the cards for this game, as well as for the 1942 game. So I have a double set of cards, which might come in handy if I want to just not worry about carrying them around in this box. I can throw them in another box. And again, it was just a couple of bucks. So if they still have them, I don't know how many they got, but recommend going to pick some up. I also picked up a whole batch of British units for this game. Because Britain, as you know, is just one country in this. There's no, Far East Command. There's no ANZAC. They have to supply the entire board. So I thought, what the heck, I'll go get some more. Alright, well, we'll come back with the end of round 1, and we'll see what happens here. As you know, in this game, Russia gets to go first, and usually this creates a lot of zombies in West Russia, which takes away from Germany's ability to move very quickly. And they have a lot of infantry here just ready to become zombies. If you're not familiar with the game, when you're fighting a battle, anytime that there is a casualty, whether it's on the attacker or on the defender, okay, they will move here. They don't just disappear back into the box. They go here and they become zombies. And zombies, there's 3 different sculpts for zombies. There's just one of them there. And then they go back onto the board in the zone that the battle is taking place. So when you build infantry, just know that someday they're probably going to be zombies. So if you want to avoid that, build a lot of artillery. Alright, we'll come back with the end of round 1 right after this. Well, that was an interesting round. The zombies have made great strides and already have 9 IPCs worth of territories, thanks to the cards that we're using. Zombies are popping up and getting moved around, and have destroyed some fine stuff here. We'll just take a look though. Russia went into West Russia pretty hard and left a small stack of zombies there. And the Germans decided to just leave, and they left it to the zombies and came down here to Ukraine in force. And so the Americans then got a card that let them move half zombies rounded up from one territory to another, so they came down to the empty Balkans. The Germans, though, did have some success in Africa. They took Anglo-Egypt, Sudan at some cost, and ended up they just lost an artillery to a zombie attack. They had a fighter that came down from Germany that landed in North Africa. The Americans came over and killed that and created a zombie at the same time. Actually, that got placed. It got placed, got destroyed, and then another one got placed here. The zombies in Western Europe here haven't done any damage, which is pretty good, but they did sneak up into Archangel thanks to the Germans. Down in Southeast Asia here, the British took Southeast Asia and then forced the Japanese to send everything they could down here to take it back, because that's worth 3. And you know, that's 20% of Japan's income, right? So you can't just leave that. So they did that and took it back, took Xinjiang. So the Americans are pretty lean here. They do have a factory that it's called a recruitment center. It can only build men. The Japanese came and sunk the battleship here, but then lost their carrier and 2 fighters in the process, and only destroyed a sub. So Americans came out on top there. The funny thing, I guess you could call it, not that the British player thought it was very funny, is that they built a tank here in Australia, and then a card came up and said, add a zombie to Australia, and then during the zombie attack, rolled a D and killed the tank. So a nice shiny new tank with the transport that was built here as well in order to transport it far afield well, it's not there anymore, so those plans are shot. But yeah, we'll see. The zombies have done well with their economy, and there's quite a number of them out here. No big stacks though. I mean, the largest stack is 3 in Anglo-Egypt, Sudan, and the Germans might just decide to leave that. So the way the mechanic works, in case you're wondering, is that at the beginning of each player's turn, you draw a zombie card, and they have different things on them, like this one here. You add a zombie North Africa, and then you can do the thing at the bottom, the Desert Measures. I really like these. It adds a real flavor to the game and a real randomness that kind of goes hand in hand with the game. Please do not take this game seriously. Do not go into this like you would into a G40 or Anniversary or something, because you can't get upset when you play this game. It's just so wacky. You know, some of the things let you have the technologies. So the different technologies might allow things to fight better or whatever. So oddly enough, the Germans and the Japanese both received the zombie mind control array, which allows you to push zombies around once per turn. And it's not at the beginning or the end, it's anytime you want. So the nice thing is that if you fight in a territory and you create a zombie, you can just push it into the next territory and let them attack. So that's the first thing you do, is you draw a card and play it. The next thing you do is then for every territory that you have, you roll dice. Now this is not a real die, but every territory that you have, that anybody has zombies in, okay? So there's 3 zombies in there, so you're going to roll 3 dice, okay? And when you roll, okay, it's a good thing this isn't a real roll. For every D you get, you eliminate one of the units, and it can be anything. It can be a fighter, a bomber. So in this case, Germany would have lost a tank, but we're not doing that turn right now. So that's how that works. And if it ever happens that the zombies are the only things left in a territory because of that, or if people vacate it, like the Germans did up here in West Russia, then the zombies take over and they add it to their income tracker, and of course you lose it off your income tracker. So the economy in this game gets depressed as it goes along. It never gets larger, it only gets smaller. Individual nations might get larger, like America here is actually up by 1 thanks to their North Africa steel. But if a zombie appears in midway out of nowhere and they can't dislodge them, then that's -1 for the Americans. Same with the Philippines. There's a card that puts them in the Philippines, right? So, just never know. And the Americans might bugger out of here, back to Szechuan, and then leave that to the Japanese to try to kill. So, the strategies in this game are quite interesting. I love it. And this is a fun game. Some people refer to games like this like a beer and pretzels game, where you just have fun. You get together with your friends and play, and you don't even worry about who wins. Again, don't take this game seriously. It is not meant to be taken like you're a great strategist if you win this game, because there's so much randomness to it. You could be called a great reactionary, I guess, you know, if you make the exact move that you need to it or set yourself up, but who knows where the zombies are going to pop up, or what sort of you know, zombie mind control ray your opponents might use on you. You just never know. And then there's the dice, which, you know, don't like some of us very well. Alright, so we're going to take care of round 2 here, and we'll see if the zombies can be ousted, or if they're going to grow in number. We'll let you know in just a minute. Alright, well, things are moving along here. Let's take a look at Africa right now. The Germans took back North Africa, but then lost it to the zombies. The zombies ate their last tank. Something very interesting happened here. You see, Spain is now British. There's a card that actually puts a zombie into Spain, and now the first people in there can take it, and it was on Britain's turn, so they shipped over a tank from Canada and took it. And when you liberate a zombie territory, you get a free infantry. You're saying, well, what's with the plane? Well, they had a bonus card that also allowed them to roll, and on a 1, 2, 3, they get another infantry. On a 4 and a 5, they get a tank, and on a 6, they get a plane. So they got a fighter there. And then they liberated Anglo-Egypt, Sudan, and rolled a 4, so they got a free tank out of that. So Britain had kind of a good round there. They did have a zombie pop up in India out of nowhere. A zombie in Southeast Asia killed the infantry and turned it into one of its own. But the Americans liberated Australia, so Britain might be on the rebound a little bit here. We'll see what can happen. The Japanese are kind of hurting, but they're still plugging away, and of course they still have a decent fleet here, and we'll see if they turn that against the American fleet here. Maybe strand everybody. We'll see. On the Eastern Front, the Germans pushed back and decided to take these territories and just are daring the Russians to come back in and create a big stack of zombies again, which I'm sure the Russians will do, because that's what Russians do. At one point, actually, the zombies, they just lost control of Australia, but they actually had 11. So they were actually tied with the Soviets, 6, and they just lost Australia, so they went back down to 9. But for a while there, the zombies had the same economy as the communists. And for all of us capitalist-loving people, we know that that probably doesn't seem too far-fetched. But hey, we are going to be going on to round 3 here. And yeah, people are building a lot of tanks and artillery now. They're not building quite so many infantry. And maybe that'll slow down the zombies a bit. Alright, we'll let you know what happens in round 3. Well, the zombies continue to climb. They're at 14 now. They were as high as 16, but America was able to take back North Africa this last round. Yeah, the zombies actually got into Central America thanks to a card. So you just never know when you're going to lose funds. You can plan, strategize all you want, but you really have to be reactionary in this game. And I don't mean to poo-poo the game as being a silly game. This is a blast. I love this game. And we all love playing it. It's just sometimes the race doesn't always go to the swift, if you know what I mean. So you just you do what you can, and yeah. So Australia here got liberated, so the Brits are able to build there, but Japan came over and wiped out that American fleet. So America now has nothing in the Pacific, but they do have men there, but the Japanese, you know, could be a threat. But Japan is also hurting for certain. They're actually $3 below their starting wage because they lost Southeast Asia to 3 zombies, and they lost Manchuria, which continues to grow actually. Cards keep putting stuff there. Moscow got ravaged by the zombies, and it turned all their infantry into more zombies. The British flew over some air power to help out. Don't know if I mentioned that the Russians took Norway, Finland last round, but there they did. And that's pretty much it. Germans lost their transport here in their little gambit there, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. See what kind of damage the zombies can do this round. The Americans now also have air dots as well as the Brits, which means essentially if you want to go shoot at some zombies, so let's say there's a spot here and you want to shoot at it with air power, you can go and shoot at it for 1 round, then you got to go, because the zombies of course can't kill your aircraft while they're getting bombed by them or strafed, okay? But you can only do it for 1 round. Well, with the air dots tech, you can actually do it for 2 rounds. So the Brits got that at the beginning of the last turn, so they used these 2 fighters here to kill the 2 zombies in North Africa, which allowed the Americans to just come in and make it an American territory. So that's a very handy thing, and if you get that, you want to, if you can afford it, you want to start cranking out some planes, which the Americans did build a fighter last round, but they also need ground units because they don't have any. Alright, so we'll see what goes on here. We're heading on to turn, shoot, is it 4, 5, 4? I don't know. I'm not even sure. We'll figure it out. We'll get back to you. Alright, coming right up. Alright, well that is the game, folks. We played it right to the bitter end. We got to the Americans' turn and drew their cards, but there's nothing else that they can do to basically they have to take one of the 2 capitals, Berlin or Tokyo, and there's nothing they can do to do that. They have nothing in the Pacific, of course, and in Europe, although they have some troops, they don't have any transports close enough to threaten Berlin, and there's no zombies adjacent to Berlin, so they can't even have a zombie come in and just take Berlin. So it's over. We even had a Japanese sub decide he's going to come on over there because there's nothing left to kill in the Pacific. But boy, I gotta tell you, there's a couple of big things we all learned here from this one. Manchuria was taken, I think, on round 1 by the zombies, and they never relinquished it. Southeast Asia traded hands a couple times, but the zombies have held it for most of the game. Zombies have a big stack in the Middle East. I mean, holy cow, they did really well. I think the zombies finished with 20. Did we do the final add on that? So let's, they got Colombia in the last round. So they got 3. And then over here we got 4. And then at 5, 6. Then it jumps up. 9, 12, 13. They got Okinawa with a card. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Western Canada is 19. I think that's everything. So I think we didn't adjust that for something that happened. But yeah, that's, I mean, 19 is pretty good in just a few rounds here. Russians are obviously pretty much a spent force. The Germans actually took Moscow with, I think they had 5 or 6 tanks remaining. But they're down to 3 tanks now because the zombies have been killing them each round. So that was one possibility. But there's, again, no Allied troops in range to go in there and liberate Moscow. So, but hey, we had a lot of fun today, and an Axis victory, even though Japan's economy was down to 11. That's, yeah, thanks to the zombies. Zombies stole 8 from them. They stole 3 there, 1 there, and 1 there. So otherwise they'd be up around 19 right now. So, and they would have done a lot better. They also lost these after they took them. That's American, but the Japanese took that briefly, and the Japanese did have that. So yeah, the Japanese should be over 20 right now with those pesky zombies. But hey, we really love this game, and you know, my earlier comments about you know, you can have all the strategy you want, but sometimes it just doesn't matter because the cards will throw everything into disarray. It's true, but I don't want to say that the better players won't win, because you can utilize the zombies in specific ways, and you can kind of see what your opponents can do because all the technologies are all right out in front, right? Like everybody can see what you can do. Nothing is secret that way. But really, it's a game that you just have to react, and you know, the dice did kick a little bit here on the Americans. They lost their whole fleet down here, which was going to be a pain in the butt, and they didn't kill anything. So it was they tipped the battleship, but things repair instantly in this game. And that's why it's a good beer and pretzels game, is because there's not a whole bunch of layers of rules. It's pretty simple. Before every turn, zombies, well, you draw a zombie card, and the zombies attack everywhere on the board where they are. And then before every attack, specific territorial attack, if there's zombies present, you roll the zombie dice, one for each of them, and they change the scales instantly. So yeah, it's pretty nasty. In fact, in the last turn here, I think Britain came down here. They had a tank in here and 6 men or something. Not sure exactly. And there was only 4 zombies, or 3 zombies, but they couldn't beat them because the zombies kept biting them, and yeah, just couldn't get through. So anyway, these things happen. But a win for the Axis, and I think that's 1-1 in our last 2 games. I can't remember the ones before that. So yeah, we'll say it's balanced. Alright, well, thanks a lot, folks, for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, Mike Ball, get back to me, bud. I want to ship that stuff out to you that you won. And I want to make sure you can enjoy those special tokens and units. Everybody else, hey, take care. Hug your loved ones. And may those dice and the zombies be with you.